All right, awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. I've got my espresso. We should have filmed from the very beginning. That would have been fun. And my special guest today is Pam Houghteling. You're in
Hello,
New
everybody.
Mexico?
Good to
Hmm.
see you guys.
Are you in New Mexico?
I'm in New Mexico. Yes. And we just had like 3 days of snow.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there's lots of snow on the ground, but it's also right before that was like real spring-like. So it's melting fast. So it's like this really cool thing of snow and warmth, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I bet the air is like super crisp and clear.
Yeah.
I love that.
And what's really cool too, like, so we just, the US went on daylight savings, like what, a week ago. And
Mhm.
so there's something about it being 7 at night and light, and the way the light is with that and snow that doesn't quite go together. So it's this really surreal kind of thing
I
that I'm
love
enjoying.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's been kind of crazy in everywhere in the US. Maybe it's in the world with the weather being hot and cold and doing all kinds of things. It maybe that's part of the earth, allowing itself to create as it chooses and now it's spring, so we must be sunny.
Right. That would be a structure, not a system. So
hmm Mm. Wow. Well, this is really hitting the spot. We were just talking about how I was feeling tired after this expo over the weekend. And it's funny, Pam, because usually I can just go and go and go.
yeah.
And this thing, I got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, picked up a friend, drove all the way down to this thing, set up the expo, did the whole day, got back to the hotel
Yeah.
and the whole night could not sleep. And then the next morning did the whole expo and then packed it up at the end of the day and drove home. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I ran my own bars. But
Good.
what tools do you use when you're just overextended and need some energy?
Well, so the first thing I'd suggest is that you do the thymus exercise. And what that is, I mean, I'm not going to stand up because you wouldn't be able to see me, but
Yeah.
if you imagine bringing energy up through your right foot and out your left arm, and then up through your left foot and out your right arm, like an X, and then up through the middle of you, and then
Mm.
you at the same time do the reverse. So it's
Yeah.
down your right arm through your left leg, down your left arm through your right leg, and down the center of you to the earth. And you don't have to like stand up or do anything special. Just ask the thymus exercise to run. And what it's doing is activating your thymus. And if you ask that to run for about 10, so Julie, already do you have more energy?
Yes, and I usually use that every morning and every night before I go to bed. But I guess I was like in so many different
Yeah.
people's worlds that I
You didn't
forgot.
think of it. Yes. So anyway, so that's an awesome one. And like for me, I mean, I didn't start the conversation with Julie saying, "Oh, I'm so tired," but that's already perking me up a lot. So the other thing you already alluded to, which is being aware of people. Like I find it, when I'm traveling somewhere and I'm going through airports and through and in airplanes, because my usual life, I mean, my entire state of New Mexico has about 4 million people, most of whom don't live right where I do. So I'm used to a lot of physical space, but also energy wise, a lot of space with the earth and not a lot of like other people's stuff imposing on me. So I have to really use the tools when I am around a lot of people because I'm used to having it so easy. But so what I'd
Yeah.
ask you is like, what are you aware of? Like anything that you were aware of during that whole expo with all the people and everyone who came to your booth and all of that. If you actually acknowledge that awareness, you and your body can have ease with it. So
Yeah.
anything you weren't aware of, will you let yourself be aware of it now?
Mm, yeah.
Does
There
that
was
run your
there was
body?
There was so much. There was so
Yeah.
much. And continually throughout the day, there were people coming by going, oh my God, this is like so much. And I'm like, okay, expand out, tap into the earth. And, that would help. But I think I just kept perceiving where everybody was contracted and as many people as I can. So wherever, if you're ever feeling like you need to get other people to expand so you can feel better, on and talk that.
Right.
It's a never-ending stream of
Yeah.
people.
Right. Because what if you and that, I mean, and it's hard because there's all these people and you're used to facilitating and you're like, hey, I can contribute, but what if in that moment, all you need to do is expand yourself,
Yeah,
regardless of anyone else and what they're choosing?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was so funny too, because part of the setup was my jewelry. I had a big table of all my sparkly jewelry, and then next to it, I had a gravity chair, and I was doing mini sessions. But when people weren't choosing it, I would just lie in that gravity chair and just do different things and do different energies. And my friend who was across the aisle, she said, it was so cool watching you just be there relaxed. And
Yeah.
if people went to look at the jewelry, you didn't like jump up, you just said, let me know if you would like anything or have any questions.
Well, and that's interesting because there's a lot of people right now who are doing things to take bars into businesses, right? Like into big corporations or organizations and stuff. And one of them I was talking to, he said, I did this presentation, and the thing that they were like, how are you not stressed? Like that's what they wanted to know. It was a presentation to lawyers. How are you not stressed? You're a lawyer. And they wanted to know about what he's doing that he's not so stressed, which, as you're talking about, I use it too, access bars. And, so what if it's that you being you and being like the magic of you? Like I've seen you, I've seen your jewelry, I've seen you facilitate. It's like there's space and ease and peace and beauty and elegance, right? And that is an invitation to people, no matter what your booth says or what you're talking about. And that friend of yours acknowledged it, like you just being there was such a different invitation.
Yeah, it was cool. And what's funny? On my phone, there was a reminder from a year ago from the Magic of Being class with Dane. It
Yes.
says, what gift am I that I'm now getting to be as a result of the magic of being? And that was today. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at
That's
that.
very cool.
Sometimes these things take a while for the seeds to grow into flowers. And, how long does it take for each one of us to start getting the gift that we be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, another thing for you in the expo that we didn't talk about yet is your body and your body facilitating other bodies.
Mm.
Our bodies are creating and facilitating and being aware just like we are. So what was your body aware of? What was your body facilitating? And will you acknowledge all of that?
Yes, please.
And anywhere your body was facilitating people who didn't want to receive it, can you just gently ask it to not do that?
Mm.
And facilitate the people who can receive it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that create more space and more ease?
Yeah, it's like I think I have to do that over and over and over because each time it's like bigger. What I wasn't realizing is that this place is part of Silicon Valley,
Ah,
and there are tons of super computer generator things like in warehouses there.
yeah.
And when you turn off everything, all the lights and everything, there's still this like electrical energy in the air that you can hear and you can feel that
Wow.
was so pervasive that when we were driving home and as soon as I saw the mountain and the bay, it was like, oh, like our bodies, which is no wonder we live in Marin with the nature energy.
So, okay, so just get that energy of the buzz and the frequency of all those supercomputers in Silicon Valley. Okay, now expand you and your awareness and your body's awareness like 100 million miles in every direction.
Mhm.
So that that energy is such a tiny little insignificant bit of everything that you be. And you were just talking about the magic of being class, right? So that magic, you can, anywhere you choose, you can be. So again, 100, let's make it 100 billion miles out in every direction.
Mhm.
So, and then anywhere that you're allowing it to impact your body, can you start flipping molecules
Yeah.
until there's absolutely no effect on you?
That's so much better. I was doing like, Dane's waking up miraculous and expanding out as big as the planet and doing tens. I would do that. Then I don't I guess at a certain point you come back in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you and I, we've both been using these tools years and years and years, right? And so to me, what this is like, and still we can wake up and have a hard day and have a time where we're not using the tools or not using them as effectively or whatever. Because it's like that kind of thing happened to me one time when I went to Washington, D.C., which is where I grew up. But I'd been living away from there for, like 10 years or something. And went to visit Washington, D.C. as someone who had access tools and the awareness and everything. And I got there and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And I actually had to call somebody and ask for facilitation. But what I can look back now on is I was letting myself be the effect of it. Like I had the awareness and kind of thought, I have to do something about this rather than just be aware of it and be the space, be the magic that it doesn't affect
Yes.
me. Right. And I think now I still can get, I don't know, I call it getting like, what is it when something comes at you at the side and you're not expecting it? So I can still get surprised.
Yeah.
But I think I'm quicker to
Yeah.
know that's not me and I don't really have to be at the effect of it.
Yeah. I think like while you're saying this, one thing that I'm becoming aware of is if I was by myself and having my own room, I would be choosing different things, but I was sharing a room and in the middle of the night, the woman she must have had a nightmare or something. She woke up kind of screaming. Well, she wasn't awake. She was
Yeah.
sleeping.
Sleeping but screaming.
And sleeping, screaming. And I'm like, oh, well, I was awake, so it didn't really startle me. And I turned on the demon clearing loop,
Yeah.
which helped. But like when you're with somebody else, it's like you're so aware of them and the things that I would do for me,
Yeah.
it was a little different. So
But
yeah,
I'm
I'm
going to stop
getting,
you there.
yeah,
So how about anywhere you're not willing to be what works for you, no matter who's around or no
yeah,
matter where you are, you could pot and pock that.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds. I'm
Well,
definitely a lot better than I used to be.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you why, because I had my moment, I think it was on Saturday, because I was starting to do my taxes, which if you're in the US, April 15th is like tax day. So I'm a bit late in looking at my financial stuff for taxes. And I was like reconciling accounts and doing this and that. And I went into this uh place. Now, the good thing is I stood up, walked into the room where my adult daughter is, who has been growing up around access tools her whole life, and
Mhm.
who's kind of, when I go into a funk or something, she's kind of like, you have fun with that, mom. Like
They're so good.
she's not buying into it at all. So she sat there and she said, okay, so what's the worst thing? You know, because I was going all like, you know, scares about money and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what's the worst thing? And I was like, well, I guess I could sell my house and blah, blah. And she's like, and that would be really bad. And I'm like, no, that sounds kind of exciting. You
Mm,
know, like everything I could come up with of the horrible things that could happen was really like nothing that I can't handle with ease with the tools. And within 5 minutes, I was having my sense of me and my reality, which
mhm.
is, you know, I can create whatever. And kind of the awareness of all the people in the country doing their taxes and freaking out about money as they do them. And,
Mhm.
you know, so it's, you know, like Julie and I, we both have these moments,
Yeah.
but
But they're moments. They're not days, weeks, months, years. And
exactly.
and we forget that that's where most people they get into their funk or whatever, and it takes days, weeks, months, and years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wow, I'm so grateful that it's shortened to moments.
Yeah.
And whenever you're ready, you can choose that.
Yeah. Well, and I find the thing is when I'm most having trouble using the tools myself, if I actually just reach out to someone who can ask me some questions and stuff.
Mhm.
The really funny thing is, Lily's, you know, she's off at school now a lot, but when she was living here more, there was a couple of times where we're both just like, "Oh, let's run bars. I really need my bars run." And we were both so grouchy, we couldn't agree who could receive first. And so we didn't run bars because we were mad at each other for not running my bars first. And then, you know, like 15, 20 minutes later, we'd just be hysterically laughing at ourselves.
Yeah.
But, you know, so sometimes it's like when you most need to use the tools, you're least likely to pull them out and use them. And what if you actually just have it on a post-it or something that
Yeah.
you say, I'm just going
Yeah.
to use one.
I know with the taxes thing this year, I am doing my own. I usually have a tax person, but they retired, and um, I'm so glad that I
I thought
chose
you
to do
said they
my
were
own.
tired, like they were having a tired day.
They
They were
retired.
retired.
They retired. Yeah, and like I have found so many little things that in doing it myself has really created some space and found some things that somebody else did wrong um and throughout the process, I've just like gone in and put in what I can. And then I walk away. Like at a certain point
Yeah,
where you start to feel like, I just walk away. I'm like, I can
yeah,
finish this later. I still have another month. Like it's okay.
yeah,
Take a breath, sleep on it. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, I didn't actually put in the right number for this. Like you
yeah,
can deduct your home office,
yeah.
and so I put in all the numbers for, the utilities and stuff, and you take your percentage. But I only wrote 1 month of rent, not the entire year of rent. And so
Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh,
that changes things a bit.
that changed that one. And then, yeah, and I have two businesses and they use two different spaces in my home. I never considered that before.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's different things, if you give yourself space to take a break and come back to it, it's sort of like, when you run bars and you're dealing with something and you run bars, you have all this space that you have new awareness and a new perspective
yeah.
when you come back to the thing that you're working on.
Well, my story like that is, you know, I have a website and kind of around 2020, I had somebody build, you know, before I had built it on my own little Mac and everything like that. But, you know, I had someone actually build me a website. And then a couple years later, I had them update it. And now I was like, okay, I am actually asking for something different. And a friend who's also an access facilitator was facilitating me, and we did kind of a symphony session for my business and for the website. And it made me realize what I'd always done was go, I don't know anything about websites. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to hand this over to someone who's going to create something for me that works. which, there's no question in that. There's no me in that. And then, and then the whole idea is you have to kind of know exactly what you want it to be for somebody to then go build it. And so this time what I did was I hired someone who knows how to do some nuts and bolts things I don't know how to do. But I was the one, I'd just kind of go in, and with the stuff I knew how to do, I'd make little changes and I'd hide this and I'd make this graph, and so it's like, it's coming from me. It's like my voice on the
Mhm.
website and my energy in it. And it's creating a completely different thing for me, which,
Yeah.
and it's like, because I had just, I don't know, abdicated that power to somebody else rather than saying, I can know what I want, and it may not be the most, professional thing, but it's the energy that I know I want to bring into the world. So,
Yeah. And I don't think that we really get how strongly our point of view creates what shows up. So if we're like, I don't like websites, I don't like doing this stuff, who cares, who's going to look at it anyway?
yeah.
We're going to create crickets on it. And
Yes.
I had that point of view about YouTube for a long time. I think I created my YouTube like before COVID, and I had maybe 30 people who watched anything.
Yeah.
And then I started changing my point of view about it because, it actually is a way to get these tools out in the world, and people all over the place find it.
Yeah.
And now I've got over 1,000 subscribers, and there are people who are finding this channel, and it's like, wow. And it's actually helping them create their lives, which
Awesome.
which is really cool that you can, you hear that about Dane, and yes, but you can create that too. I can create that too. Anybody can choose to be,
Yeah.
an inspiration and share the tools.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
yeah.
whether we're talking about like you at the expo and shifting your energy to create something different, or me and my taxes, or, like all of this, it's that moment where you realize you're contracting, you're being less, you're being at the effect of, and what can you do in that moment to shift that energy? And maybe it's going and taking a walk. When we sat down before we went live, and you're like, I'm so tired, and you're like, I'm gonna go make an espresso, and your whole body lit up. It's just like, yay. And then we've done other things to shift that energy too. Like,
Mm,
that's what I love about these tools, is it's always available to you, whatever's going on, whoever's around. You can choose in that moment to shift the
mhm,
energy you're
mhm,
being. And we all have different ways. It might be like my daughter's really into crocheting little animals now. And
mhm,
so she's doing that like when she's in between classes and stuff. And it creates something in a different energy for her. Um,
mhm,
so it's like it could be for everybody, it's different kinds of things. For a lot of us, some of that is the access tools, right?
mhm.
We have all kinds of other things too, but it's that moment of choice to, like, I could have stayed in my tax hellhole and wallowed for, a few hours, a few days or whatever, but I chose to get up and go talk to someone who I knew wouldn't put up with that shit
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
And then if I chose to keep wallowing in it, she was just gonna like ignore me and have a good day. But because I asked a question, she facilitated me, and I shifted. I mean, it started when I made the choice to get up and not sit in it,
right.
literally and figuratively. And then, keep going until I changed my energy to be something where I can have in my awareness, there's some things I need to take care of, and I'm being the space I know is possible.
Yeah. It's amazing that, just being aware that you're stuck and choosing something different, like that takes a whole lot of working the muscle of awareness to get to.
Yeah.
And then, you just choose and choose. And like so many people don't even realize that you can choose. They don't realize that, the moment they get stuck. So it's like we're 90% there. And all along the way, uh, it's an interesting journey, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
My
And
mom actually reached out to me this morning. She's got some body stuff going on, and she was really panicky. And, literally a minute after I got on the phone, she was relaxed, and, but she was
wow.
like, "Oh my God, Julie." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, what's up? Okay, expand out, relax."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how, we can interact and help somebody shift whatever their point of view is. And
Yeah.
really, that point of view is so important to
Yeah.
become aware of. Like, what is the point of view that we're operating from?
Yeah. Because as soon as you become aware of it, you can start shifting and changing things.
Yeah.
And even you don't even have to know exactly what it is. You can just know there is something, some point of view I have that's creating this, and I'm choosing to change it. And you can pod pocket even if you don't have any idea what
Mhm.
the words are that go with it. You can choose to be a different energy, even if you don't know where the contracted energy is coming from. Because we tend to think, oh, I have to figure this out and know how I got here so I can undo it. That's one way, but you can
Right.
also just choose to change the energy.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, bringing it back to the expo, I used to have the point of view that at these crystal enlightenment expos that people would not spend, for the kind of jewelry that I make, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of very, very inexpensive crystal jewelry there.
Yeah.
Like those stretchy bracelets, somebody had two for $20 and mine were 48 a piece.
Right.
And I was like, oh, nobody's gonna. And then I was like, wait a second, mine's different.
Yeah,
And what I
it
do
is.
with it is different. And so with this one, I definitely erased all the points of view. And I was like, who's willing to pay for what I do?
Yeah.
And I had people come up to me and say, wow, I see the energy patterns of what you're creating with this. It's so different. And I'm drawn to this. And it was so interesting. And I sold some, pretty heavy investment pieces that I
Awesome.
never would have imagined
Yeah.
at this expo.
Because you changed that point of view.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of mind boggling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so just think of like I mean, how many points of view do we have that come up during a given day? I mean, things we don't even think of as points of view. And if each one of those could be shifted that way, like what would you wake up as tomorrow?
Mhm.
Because you can, as you notice them, just keep pod pocking them.
Yeah. And whose are they anyway?
Oh, good point. Yes. The thing I love, I think it was my very first CFP class when I first started coming to Access, and Dane was talking about, who does this belong to? And he said, okay, you can see a woman who's 9 months pregnant, right? And they tend to have a way of walking and moving, and it's kind of obvious that somebody's pregnant.
Mhm.
But that doesn't make you pregnant. And so I always come back to that because we're aware of so much. You were aware of so much, and your body was aware of so much at that expo. If you have the point of view that you have to do something about it, then that's exhausting. But if you can just be aware of it, it's like, oh, there that person's walking by with that point of view and that energy and that life, and you don't have to engage with it at all, then there's nothing to drain you because you're not letting it, because you're just not buying into it at all.
Yeah. It's so true. And like people would say, oh, I love this. I just, I don't have the money, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, no problem. You could try it on, receive the energy, and then put it back. And they would come back and buy it anyway. It was
Wow,
like,
that's awesome.
I thought you said you had no money. Okay, thank you. It's just kind of interesting,
Yeah. Yeah.
practicing being interesting point of view.
Well, it's kind of showing, I mean, they have whatever point of view about what they can spend money on, what they're willing, like whatever that is. And then the energy of your pieces are going, hey, there's another possibility here if you'd like to play with this energy in your life. And then they can go away and come back and choose it. That's very cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. Wow, I can't believe it's the end of our 30-minute
Yeah. Yeah.
chat, but it's so much fun. We should do this again.
Yes. Yes. And thank you so much for having me on. This is really fun.
Yeah. Do you have anything real quick coming up that you'd like to share with people?
Well, just what we were talking about before, which is another facilitator and I have been we're doing 100 days of clearings, running a clearing about changing political reality 100 times. Takes about a half hour a day, and it's a free group that you can join, and you can find it through my website, which is pamhoughteling.com. But otherwise, just to have the usual access facilitator stuff going on.
Cool. Well, I will put your website in the show notes, so y'all check it out. We have some great stuff beyond these coffee talks. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. And thank you again, Pam.
Thank
And
you.
everybody who's watching, and mwah, have an amazing week. Take care.